Hello everyone, welcome to the Village of Words. The word relation for this video is Buddha release attachment, alone. I do not know much about Buddhism, but I can tell from the famous Buddhism word release attachment. Release attachment means Buddhism is a religion of loneness. So, in this video, we will talk about alone. A quick story of Buddha. Buddhism originated from ancient India. A prince called Siddhartha Gautama from Nepal had isolated himself in the mountains, and one day came to be enlightened Buddha. Buddha managed to discover the path of liberation from suffering. Next, life is all about attachments. Even my religion, word relations, is about association. Buddhism is about releasing the attachments of the worldly life. So, when I think about release attachment, I think about money. What more a bigger attachment to people other than money? So surprisingly to me, Buddhism sounded anti-capitalist to me. Yet, Buddhism can actually be famous. Another thing, release attachment sounds like to not care about others. I might sound harsh, but it sounded as if other people are meaningless, so do not care about them. Care or value only yourself. Release attachments should mean none of your concern. Even supposedly attachments to family. After all, aren't Buddhists people who live in the mountains or temple? So, Buddhism sounded like a religion for loners who does not care about other people. For a religion that sounded like valuing loneliness, the country that supports Buddhism sounded like a multicultural, diverse country. Western countries, for example, are obviously diverse. But contrary is a Buddhist country like Thailand, who had oppressed and kicked out the Rohingya Islamic people. Hence, so much for Buddhism who value loners. Diversity is opposed to value minority. So, it will be a false advertisement to say Thailand is a multi-diverse country. But apparently, there are Westerners who either do not care or do not know and still visit Thailand. Besides, Thailand is also a country with no free speech. Thus, how can Thailand be democratic and diverse? A diverse country allows everyone to speak. Different thoughts are allowed to flow. But a country that does not allow criticism sounded like a government that people do not know of. In a different perspective, it does sound like it values alone. That is, the government is alone when no one is allowed to criticize. But that is not valuing alone like most think about. Instead, it should be diversity. I believe a government that silences criticism is unjust. After all, aren't the strong and many has reputation to worry about? Being many and powerful are supposed to maintain their reputation. And fame and reputation is the price of power. I consider to silence the speaking of reputation and fame is unjust. Those with power are supposed to be well known and looked at, not to be discreet and silent. Sure, maybe they care about their own reputation, therefore they silent critics. But it does not change the fact how a government truly is. So, if a government is corrupt, it should be criticized and fixed. Next, I say diversity value lowness. But at the same time, I also thought that racism is alone. To hate others is to be alone. Still, it is possible to be argued the other way, that racism is being many. Regardless, diversity is obviously many and appreciates the minority. Moreover, racism and killers are another type of lowness. But unlike Buddhism, to release attachments, killers kill because of their own attachments. Killers kill for the sake of their own ambition. So, another criticism of Buddhism is Buddhism sounded like a peaceful religion with no ambition. Ambition is to make attachments be prosper and many. But it is unlikely Buddhism is about killing, hence about no ambition. Next, responsibility binds us to people. But Buddhism sounded like a free religion, not to be responsible to anything. Buddhism also sounded like a religion for the rich. A rich way of living that does not need the help of others. Besides that, Buddhism is also releasing attachment to food. Buddhists fast by only eating vegetarian food or beans. Buddhists abstain from eating other food. After that, Buddhism also does not somewhat believe in the supernatural. Supernatural like spirits, demons, and angels. But Buddhism does somewhat believe in heaven and hell and karma. Finally, one of the common words of Buddhism is enlightenment. If I had known that earlier while being mentally ill, I would have searched for Buddhism to cope with depression and schizophrenia. But unfortunately, the down point that I view about Buddhism is that it has no scripture, thus opening the possibility of error of straying from Buddha's original meaning. Besides, I disagree. How can one be enlightened without knowledge? How can one be enlightened without a proper guide? If you ask me what enlightened means, I will say reading scripture or books. That's all for this video. Hit like, share, or comment down below.